and welcome to Apropos, the show about closure, where we talk to a special guest and then it's on YouTube. So today on our panel, we have Ray
Hello.
and I'm Eric. Hello. And our
Hello.
special guest is Adrian.
Hello.
Adrian, say hello. Yes. Adrian is the creator of Easel, which he will show us today. But first, before we do that, tell us about how you got into Clojure.
Oh man, I think I originally started pretty early. I think it was around when ClojureScript became,
Mm. So
uh,
like 2011.
yeah, it's like 2011, 2012, pretty early on. And so I originally started doing ClojureScript, and then I started making like data dashboards using ClojureScript and Clojure.
Okay.
So that's kind of when I got started. And then
Oh,
eventually, so I did a bunch of web stuff with ClojureScript, and then eventually I kind of slowly transitioned from like web things to more closure oriented things on the JVM.
okay. Oh, wow. I didn't know. I mean, I wonder how common that is. Someone coming in from the web side, from the browser side. What were you using for a backend at first when you used ClojureScript?
I think I use Closure, the web, like,
Oh, okay.
what is it? Like rings,
Uh-huh.
whatever the ring services were.
Yeah,
And I think HTTP kit was pretty early.
got it. Got it. And what what drew you to Clojure? Why'd you choose it?
I mean, I definitely think it was the influence of the Polygram essays on Lisp,
Mm.
like, the magic of like using macros and having a more powerful language.
Mm-hmm.
And those essays kind of highlighted that. And I
Yeah.
also had started using Emacs pretty early on. I had a
Okay.
coworker who was used Emacs, and then I picked up Emacs. So even before Clojure, I was using Emacs, and I was kind of in the mode of like, I'm gonna write a bunch of eLisp and mold my development environment to whatever I'm working on.
Right. Okay. Which might lead into what you eventually created, right? This idea of an editor that you can modify.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using Emacs for over a decade, and I'm like really happy with a lot of how Emacs works. And so a
Mm.
lot of what you see in Easel just kind of looks like what I use in Emacs.
Okay.
So yeah, that
Well,
that
it might be
experience
time.
definitely,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that experience was definitely very influential to what I want to do with Easel and how I build Easel.
Hmm.
So what's the problem with Emacs, Adrian?
Yeah, the main issues that I see are that there's like a lot of things that have happened in computing since like the 1980s.
Hmm.
So 2D graphics,
What?
multi-threading, large ecosystem of libraries, really fast garbage collectors, and 3D graphics. And I think a lot of these, features are, I mean, actually, a lot of these things go back to the 1980s, but, a lot of these things we expect from modern IDEs, are really hard to do when you're also kind of constraining yourself to emulating a VT100.
Right. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
there's also like, I feel like just UI conventions have stabilized. Just simple things like Control C, Control V, copy paste, system-wide copy paste didn't exist back then.
Hmm.
Yeah. Although I mean, I think copy paste is very text oriented, as is
Mm.
Emacs. And I think having a data orientation is actually a lot more powerful, where you can like
Interesting.
actually pass maps. I mean, I think there's a lot of services which pass like JSON, which is not quite Eden, but you can pass data between different services.
Uh-huh.
But programs don't typically, as a user, you can't share data between two applications except for copy and paste. And that's like, you get a CSV or you get some text, but
Hmm.
all of the data rich data that you could represent isn't really easy to share between different programs.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's a classic copy paste problem, actually, isn't it? When you pick something up off the internet, or wherever you paste it in, and you get all these like problems with with the fact that it doesn't interpret the characters properly, etc. Um, yeah. Anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
or you copy paste uh code that has quotation marks and it turns into um curly quotes and now you can't paste it into your
Yeah. Or you have like a list of things and it's like, do you encode it in comma separated? Do you null separate it?
mm,
And then on the
mm,
other end, you got to parse it.
right. Right.
Um, so
yeah,
Okay.
and the REPL ends up sort of like prettifying the output rather than just presenting data. So you can't take it from the REPL directly and put it into another REPL even.
yeah. And I think it also really hinders working with really even like medium-sized data structures. If you've accidentally like pre-printed like even a medium-sized
Mm.
map,
Yeah, yeah.
that can be challenging and slow.
Well, especially if you've got like embedded objects and stuff like that in it.
Right. Things that you can't even, very difficult to serialize.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Interesting.
yeah, I
Well,
think a lot of these things are easier to demo. So,
yeah, let's jump into the
Let's go
demo.
to
I'm
it. Come
really,
on.
really
Yeah.
curious to see what's going
okay.
on.
So let me share my screen here. So I've got a short, very short 2 slide presentation here, which is just saying what easel is. It's an IDE written in Clojure. It's been in development for about a year and a half. The main idea is that it's a live REPL-driven environment. Easel itself is minimal. All it does is kind of take tools and put them in the same space and let you arrange them. And it's built around tools, which in principle can live inside or outside of Easel, but they work better together. And so there's a code editor, a terminal emulator, a data inspector, a web browser. There's an NES emulator, and it's an open site, so you can continue to build tools for whatever project you're working on.
That
Yeah,
NES emulator, very important.
yeah. I think there's like one. I think it's really fun to work
Sure.
with, but I there's also another reason, which is that the NES emulator runs at 60 frames a second, so it's a nice way to test. Like
Mm,
if you can put an NES emulator and have it run at 60 frames a second, that shows that in principle you can put a lot of other things in that are similar because it's so it kind of helps test. I mean, NES is pretty underpowered, but it does help test out some of the
yeah, the pipeline of everything. Yeah.
yeah of what you can actually build and include and embed. And it's data oriented instead of text oriented, kind of like we were talking about. And then it's currently not all the code is on GitHub, but I haven't made a release because I'm working towards something that I've had people try it out before, but I didn't get good feedback. I think the ultimate goal is to build something that other people can use. And I think to get good feedback, I really need to have enough there that you can like somebody could actually solve a real problem. And that way I can get really good feedback and get to a place where more people could try it out. So that's the whole presentation. This is usually, there's like a slide editing tool. So where I just like hide the Chrome, but there's this,
So that's the reveal that we're actually in Easel right
yeah.
now.
So this is, you were looking at easel and this is easel. And that's a little bit why the formatting is a little bit weird. There's like this extra padding because I forgot to hide that. But anyway, yeah, it's a collection of tools. You can add, you
Wait,
can
what are we
see,
looking at? What are we looking at? Wait a second. You
so I
just
clicked
click the
the,
plus button and that
right.
makes new slides or new tabs or what are those?
Yeah, so like in Emacs, they're called frames or
Frame.
buffers, I guess. And so each, um, this lets you open up a new tool so you can do a code editor. Here, I'll fill in this terminal emulator over here. So if you click over here, this is a list of like tabs, but basically each one of these is a tool. You can put in a browser. I'm going to move these faces over here. And so this is a full emulator or a full, this uses Chromium Embedded Framework to
Hmm.
embed a web browser. You can also use the inspector just like you
Oh,
would if
cool.
you were using Chrome. And so,
Nice.
yeah, you put all of these tools in the share space and then you can lay them out. So, yeah. So, I mean, that's all Easel does is the kind of pain management of laying out these tools next to each other.
Uh-huh.
and everything else is individual tools. So
I
yeah,
like that you still have the floppy disk there, actually, Adrian.
yeah. So this lets you
It's all
save
part
a
of the retro
workspace.
package. Yeah.
I haven't updated the UI here, but anyway,
Trash can too.
if we
Oh,
go
that's
here and
great.
we click here, it goes back to the same layout. So you can save a layout, and then
Oh, that's
like if you
nice.
have multiple layouts, I
Yeah.
don't use it very often. I used it a little bit. I don't know. I think for in some cases, like if you have, like if you had like a Photoshop setup, and then you wanted a code setup, and you wanted to
Yeah.
swap between, you could do that.
Wait, a
But
Photoshop setup? Are you saying there's like an embedded image editor in here?
not yet. But I mean, that is kind of the direction I want. Is like, I mean, if you look back at the how computing was oriented previously, is like you have a drawing tool, you have an authoring tool,
Yeah.
you have tools for media, and that these tools all work together. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important that, like, I mean, that you be able to draw pictures, that you be able to work with media, that you be able to edit text and code, that you can visualize things, you can have graphics.
Yeah.
And so I feel like easel, I mean, it really wouldn't make sense to have a IDE called easel if you couldn't draw things.
Got it. Yeah.
And I also like, so I did a presentation at Dutch Closure Days. And if you look at how people worked with computers before, there's a lot of stuff built into the computer, they used notebooks. And I think this is also true for a lot of people who work with computers, is that like you draw things freehand and that you draw pictures and diagrams. I think if you look at a lot of the closure development, you can actually see there's like quite a lot of like diagrams and notes and mixed media of representing what the program is doing. And I think that's really important for understanding your program and like being able to get full use out of your computer. It's not just like I'm looking at the code editor. That I think, you can look at this all you want, and it only gives you so much of a window into your program. So having more tools to understand your program, I think, is really important.
So it's not just a development environment, it's also a kind of like scratch pad design environment. Basically, the tools are extensible to whatever. And I guess that's the ultimate Emacs thing, isn't it? The Emacs is you can get anything you want plugged into Emacs. So this is like the modern version of that, of a modern take on that concept.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I think that's one of the things that you see with Emacs is that people use it for all sorts of things. They use it for like IRC, for org mode, and being able
Yeah.
to, and this is about being able to use a computer. Like the whole point of using a computer and making things on a computer isn't just to like dump out a bunch of lines of code. It's to like, there's usually hopefully some like real world aspect to it. And so being able to have programmatic and like to be able to use your computer to help you with those real world problems,
Yeah.
having the place for them alongside the code is, I think, really important. So like having your slides, like it's really nice to be able to have your slides and then have like a list of maps for your slides. And if you want to like edit them programmatically, you just grab the list of slides, you edit them using a function, then you save them, and then you can use the tool to visualize it. And I think that's really true for basically anything that you work on. Like, so maybe a demo is a good. So like, I really like using Super Mario World as a demo, and so you can play the game, and this is just like me playing. So don't. Hopefully, it's not going to really impress anybody, but you can also like save it here. And then I can pull up the save list. And so you have this is like the save game here, and you can just drag that into here. So if I like want to move over here, I can drag the save game back. And then I can also pull up a closure editor, and then I can drag this value over here, and then it will def a var. And you can see this is like just a map of data that you can then use.
Hmm.
And if you have functions that work with this data, then you can produce more data, and like, and then you can have that feedback into your game. So you can see I was playing some Zelda recently, but
Yeah, so I mean, this is a lot deeper than I was thinking. So that's why I'm like silent because this is kind of reorganizing a lot of how I was thinking about this. Um, I mean, one of the problems with modern computing is apps. Like that everything is its own program with its own proprietary format, file format, and no API, and you just have to live within that app. And um, and I don't mean apps like on your phone, even on a computer, on a desktop, it's the same. Um, it's kind of a shame that when you buy Photoshop, you don't get all these routines that you could programmatically string together to do the same operations that are in Photoshop. You have to click around with the mouse. I mean, I'm sure it has some scripting language, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm
um,
talking about like I'm in this program, I want to call out to Photoshop, make it do a blur effect or whatever, and then come back. Um, and I know why we do that, right? It's for commercial reasons. Like it's just uh you get more money, right? But also because um it's expensive to support other, hey, I tried to do blur and it didn't work. Like, oh, come on, like your code's broken. I don't want to be debugging your code. Um, but it is, I mean, I feel like it is kind of a shame that like every image editor has to re-implement this stuff, including the low level stuff like reading in the JPEG and turning it into pixels and like all this stuff is done everywhere. And you still can't just copy paste an image from Photoshop and paste it in some other image editor, right?
right.
Um, so this seems like you're tackling some of that, right? Just like how do we integrate all of these things in some kind of common format? Is that right? Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, just putting them in. I mean, I think I mean they've started a sandbox application so that as like a security thing, but previously before that, like there was actually pervasive sharing. Like a lot of the stuff was on the system in Unix. Like, everything was like in a file. So like, I mean,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
you have
But I'm talking about even before the sandboxing where like you don't even know where your files are being stored. And that's made it worse. But even
well, I
before
mean, the
that,
files meant you could actually access things. So like everything was accessible through the file system, and
yeah,
all the apps had kind of access to everything. So you could have things work together.
right.
And if you wanted to share something, you would make it available as like some sort of file interface, and then somebody else can like, oh, you want to like write to the network, you write to this file. You want to write to the
Yeah,
screen, you write to this
sure.
other file. If you want to
Right.
get data, you read in. And so these different programs were sharing data with each other.
Right.
And
But in the end of the day, those files had to have some sort of agreed format,
That's right.
and that's
right,
what's changed in the last sort of number of years, isn't it? That there's been essentially a format, I don't know about a format war, but certainly format competition, let's say, format splintering
Yeah.
and format kind of like I don't know, like just yeah, splintering and shattering, if you like.
yeah. So I think this is where data is just more powerful. You can do
Yeah.
everything in terms of uh, maps, vectors, lists, strings, numbers, and
Right.
you can define new types. There's not really usually that many, but like you can have an instant, and that's just a much richer way to do it. And you don't have to like write a parser every time you work with new
Mm, mm.
Yeah, sure.
with a new type of data.
But you
But
can add reader tags and all this other stuff if you want to extend things, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's almost you don't like you can get really far with just this. So, and in
Yeah,
fact,
for
this is
sure.
like a
Yeah.
byte array, but it looks just like a list. And if you want to
Mm.
just treat it like a list, you can do that. Or if you know it's a byte array, you can actually use that to your advantage as well.
Okay.
Um,
I
I
mean,
keep killing Mario over here.
that's okay. It's just showing that it's working. Um, the I mean, I sometimes think that one of the ways that this is like a thing I have, personal thing, like a question, one of those Feynman questions, like it's always on the back of my mind, and I always try to apply a new problem solving skill to it. The question is, why was small talk so small? How is it 200 classes or something like 200 pages of code? Could be a whole operating system with an image editor and a, MIDI synthesizer and like all this stuff. And it's just 200 lines or 200 pages of code. And one of the things that I think that they did right was they had standard interfaces for stuff. So if you wanted to make a new kind of image, so let's say you had PNGs, but you want to support JPEGs now, you just implement the image interface, and now everything that could read PNGs can now read JPEGs. And same right, anything that could write PNGs can now write JPEGs. Because it was just like plot a pixel, whatever the minimum interface was they had. And it because it was just a small team, they could do that, right? Like they could make sure that everything worked together. And it also reminds me a lot of Mathematica, where a lot of the work is just that, the reason things work together, where like you have one function and it generates some data, and now you can just click a button and it plots it, and then you can take the plot and like do image operations and like flip it XY, is because they've done that hard integration work of like using a consistent set of formats, right? Like images have this interface, data sets have this interface, graphs take a data set and produce an image. And so like they can interoperate on everything. So I'm wondering how, like, what your take on that is for this.
Um, yeah, I mean, so I don't know if you've followed Glamorous Toolkit, but
Yeah.
that's a small talk. It's a modern small talk environment, and they're doing really cool stuff. They've got like a YouTube channel with like 60 videos
Yours
where they,
reminds me a lot of that, where like just kind of you want to add a new panel, just add more. There's always more room.
yeah, and that's been a big inspiration for what I've been working on, and I've learned a lot from what they do. And like you, I've had this big question of like, I mean, so with the object-oriented stuff, anything you click on has an object type,
Uh-huh.
and then for that type, you can get a list of like, here's things you can do with it. And so you
Here's all
can
the
like,
methods. Yeah.
yeah, and you can also attach, you can get a list of methods for which gives you things to do with it. You can also get a list of like UI components that work with it.
Hmm.
So different ways to visualize it. And so this is like, and I think that discoverability is really big. And you don't really like, here's a map and it's got some stuff in it, and it's like, well, what can you do with it?
Yeah.
And there are things in the Clojure world, but that discoverability is not quite like there's no type with this.
Right.
And so yeah, that's something that I've like spent a lot of time thinking about. I think part of it is that um, I mean, it's like, well, what can you do with this map? It's like, sure, you can give it a list of methods, but that's not everything you could do with that map. So I think in Clojure, maybe it's easier to like, if you want to do something new with the map, you can just take this, and like a lot of programs can work with this generically.
Sure.
And, but there are ways to try to like come up with lists of like by looking at the keys, and if
Yeah.
you can have a key that gives it a type. There's projects like Kindly that will like help annotate in a specific way. So there
Hmm.
are ways to try to get back to that. Like, I have some data. What can I do with it? Give me some obvious things to do with it.
Right. Right. Like, like a right click menu, like here's all the things that, or maybe there's plenty of room on this panel. You could just add the buttons there. That's like,
Mhm.
hey, this looks like an NES save game. Like you should be able to just click on it and start running it. Um, but how do you do that? That's
Well,
your
you,
challenge, right? Have a special key that's like a type. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I think that's well, right now it's not as big of a problem because I'm the main user of the system, and I
Yeah.
think that's more helpful when like if somebody else gives you data, then it's like, what do I do with this? Whereas if you produce the data yourself, you probably have a much better idea of like what you can do with it. Um,
I
so
mean, I think that that's another one of those like original Xerox PARC small talk things that maybe is worth mentioning that, we talk about like the Windows, what is it called? Icons, mouse, and pointer, something like that, is the WIMP interface, which is what we all use today, right? You just have
yeah,
that's what we call the GUI. Um, but the when you would like do a right click or whatever click to make the menu show up, those were just the methods that on that class of whatever object you clicked on. And you could do that on any thing you could see on the screen. Um, so it's kind of like you're able to like run methods directly. It's a subset of the methods, right? You'd have to tag them with like, yes, this goes in the menu. But this whole idea of like, let's build the GUI separate from the way the objects work was separate, right? Like it was you were very directly calling methods on things using the menus.
yeah.
And I
Let
don't know,
me.
this is making me think that if you could have some kind of registry where it was like, hey, if you here's a spec, if you see something like this function works on it, and you had a reverse index, right? So you can like say, what specs does this satisfy?
Mhm.
And here's all the functions that'll run on it. I mean, that would be really cool.
Let me start just another thing in the background here, which maybe
Hmm.
can give us more to talk about in a
Sure.
bit. So this is the search thing, and this is one of the projects that I had where I visualize trying to find a route to beat the
To win.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and in fact, you can. I guess one other. So it taps the flow, and so this is the coursing flow that's powering all of this, and that's a value. And this is like an example of a value that's really hard to serialize. It's like just this object, and if we bring it over here, hopefully it will. It's hard to tell, but this is like running on all my cores, and so we can actually see what the flow looks like here. So this is the flow that's powering and it's running live, and you can see that the bottleneck is actually this update overlay thing. And you can see Mario, and if I hit pause here, it should stop. And then you can hit resume, and it'll keep going. And you can actually get access to, if I go back to the tap watcher and I click on any one of these channels, you can actually see it will tap the full state of the flow at that moment.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, this is kind of another demo of like how you can build different tools that share data and work with each other and help you understand what's happening in your program. So I built this thing to solve levels, and it was all single threaded, so it was slow. And what I didn't realize, like it would work, it would find solutions, but it was also broken in really subtle ways. And as soon as I could visualize it, I immediately found a ton of bugs and something that seemed like was working just fine.
Huh.
And
So like what's an example of a bug you found?
so the Mario's height position, I thought it was 1 byte. Turns out it's 2 bytes. So I in the visualization, what would happen is that like Mario would fall off a cliff and then he would come out off the top
Uh-huh. It would
because it would
overflow or something.
right. So there's all these bugs related to that where it would still randomly find a solution.
Uh-huh.
And you can see here it did find a solution and it tapped the value. And so a lot of these tools work with like they just tap. You can have them tap values and they show up in this tap viewer, and then you can use them. So this is like I almost never use print line anymore because I can just tap values and you can type like really large values. Um, so um, in here you can see here's the save data. And so if we open up a new, let's see, a new Super Mario Bros. Over here, we can just drag the save data over here. And this is the
Ah,
last save where it found the end of the level.
okay.
And so this is like another, and you can also look at all of it has, and you can put extra data in here. So you can actually see, here's the recipe for beating the level from that point. You can
Like
like,
at every time, this is what you press.
yeah, and how many frames, these are the buttons that you press.
Yeah.
And then the other kind of tool that works alongside these other tools is this input viewer. So whenever it finds a solution,
Hmm.
this tool is like listening for that. And so you can actually see like, here's how it beat the level.
Ah, that's nice.
And, this has the data too. So if it's like, okay, this is where I was struggling, I got past the hard part, I can just hit this button here and then I can start playing from,
Hmm.
from this part of the screen.
This is very Brett Victor, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah. I think it's really funny but he has like a minimal Mario. I think it's actually fun to use like the real
Oh
actual
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
game.
Well, but I mean, it is interesting that you're not like programming the Mario game, right? But you could make your own NES game
Hmm.
and debug it using this, right? You
Yeah.
could say like, is it even possible to beat this world, and see if the computer can find it. Um,
So
that's
what your program does is just essentially hit buttons on the controls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
it
mean, I
just
think
it does it search every path like
well, like,
there's
let me
at
show.
every
So,
time step there's like five things I could do. I could hit the D-pad, I could hit the A button, the B button, or do nothing, like that kind of thing.
yeah, so it does every path. And I think what's really neat about that is like, I mean, maybe you're already kind of familiar with this, but I think in some ways you can just see that from the picture. And this
Yeah.
is
Yeah, yeah,
why I
yeah.
think it's important for like, this is like really important for the ID, not just because it's fun, but the fact that like, one, I found a bunch of bugs. And two, if I explained it to you, like, I almost don't even need to tell you anything. I can just show it to
Yeah.
you and you kind of
Yeah.
understand what's
Mm,
happening.
yeah.
And if you have a
Yeah.
question, you have like a really rich resource for,
Sure.
and I think
For
Right.
like one of
exploring it,
the,
yeah.
That's the thing that the glamorous toolkit folks are really into. So I
mm,
we should have them on.
yeah,
They're really, I mean, what's the main guy's name? I can't remember. It's not
Just
Tudor Girba.
Tudor, yes. Like, so what he was saying is that, I'm a functional programmer, and it's like icky working in mutable state, right? And this like very rigid class hierarchy. I'm just like repelled by it, but I'm like, okay, I'll try it. I'll try it. Um, and I bring that stuff up, like, hey, this seems like a mixing of concerns here. And he was like, you don't like there are these concerns, you're right, but there's this other concern, which is understandability. And if you can't visualize a thing, it makes it really hard to understand what it's doing, what it's for. And I don't know, I never thought of that as like a part of the program is to make it understandable, not some external thing that like validates that it's working correctly. It's like for the person inside the program, they need to be able to visualize.
Hmm.
And that's a concern, an important concern.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things I kind of realized kind of after the fact, where after I built enough tools that like, I also felt like this is a really good tool just for explaining my program to other people.
Uh-huh.
Where a lot of times when I like try to demo things or show how things work, like having a bunch of tools that can like show you what's happening So for every single one of these tools, you have there's these like two share things,
Yeah.
and so this is the UI, which is like so a lot of the things that I'm trying to do is a lot of the what Glamorous Toolkit is doing, but with functional stuff.
Uh-huh.
So here is the UI value, and you can evaluate it here. And this is a search tool that I built. And so one way to get, if you're familiar with TreeSec,
Yeah.
then what it does is it builds a tree out of like, it makes a big list out of a tree-like data structure. It'll navigate through the tree. And so if we give it a tree, it'll actually, hopefully this will work. So this is all the UI components. And so you can just like, and this is meant to work with
Wow.
really large data structures. So if you had something really big, you could,
Yeah. So
and
this is like the whole tree, but linearized of all the UI components in this left-hand pane. Is that right?
right. So
Okay.
if we bring up another closure editor here, we can like, I don't have a tool yet that, let's see. Okay, so I don't have a tool yet that just like lets you drag the views on it, but I do have a key binding so you can see the view here. But there's a key binding that will evaluate it, and then you can actually see that element. So here you can actually see
Ah,
the background for this whole thing. It actually shows you the full route, but like as it's what you see on that previously was actually it would kind of show one screen at a time and it would scroll as you're going, but it
right.
actually is generating
A
this
whole
like
thing.
full,
Yeah.
yeah, full view.
So, okay. So I'm gonna back up again. What UI system is this using?
So this is using a UI library that I've been working on for like I think since like COVID called Membrane.
Membrane. Okay.
And I really think a lot of, you know, the way I look at it is that almost every like the state of the art in functional UI programming is basically like virtual DOM, and if you remember, there's also functional reactive programming,
Yeah.
and both of these are like, how do I build on top of an object-oriented UI library and like make it not so bad?
Yes, right. That's right. Yes.
And so Membrane was my like, what if I could build functional, if I could build a UI library without the object-oriented library at the bottom?
Okay.
And Easel is like, what can you build if you had a functional UI library that was like functional all the way through, where like every view was just an immutable value, and
Uh-huh.
all of the components are pure functions that take data and return data, that take data and return a view.
Yeah.
So like here, well, so another thing about this tool that I think is really interesting. So a lot of the like, I think programmers have kind of like a distrust with GUI programs because it's like once it gets in the GUI, it's like this separate world that you can't really touch. Like if you've seen something get put in Excel, or I don't know if you remember Flash, but you like it like
Yeah.
gets put in the GUI and it gets ruined. Here, the results themselves are actually is like a value that you can drag in, so you can actually get the results as a list. And these are all values, so you can actually just lay them out. Oops. If I can type, okay. So if I draw that, you can actually see every
Oh.
every view just like put on top of each other. So each element, and you can see that most of these elements are just like combining things together.
Yeah. Right, right. There's subcomponents of, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So yeah. So I
Cool.
think with tools, that's like one of the big things is that like you have tools that let you work with them graphically, like with the mouse and keyboard, but each of them also has you have access to the data. So
Yeah.
like it makes it really easy to go back and forth between I'm doing things programmatically, I'm trying things with code and functions, and then I'm putting that data I created programmatically into the tool. And then I'm doing things easily with the tool where like it's a lot easier to move around through the Mario world with like mouse and keyboard. And then I get to a save state that I really want, like I get to level 2, and then I can use that and plug that into my programmatic search tool.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and the
Right.
more tools you have, the more, um, the easier it is to, like, the more power you have. So, like, it's really nice having a tool that lets you view stuff. There's this, I was showing you the search tool, there's the tap watcher, and you can imagine more generic tools or more specific use case tools
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like, okay, so I mean, I'm having so many ideas because this is really cool. Um, One thing
Definitely.
you said was that you can tap things and see the values. Um, I've used some of the what's it called? The one that you can tap and visualize the data structures. It
Oh,
records them and
Portal,
what's that got? Portal, yes.
Portal and Reveal. And Flowstorm actually
Rebel.
has a really good one too. And as does like Spider Inspect is actually really great. So if you
Mm,
haven't used that and you're using Emacs,
yep,
you
yep.
should definitely check that out.
So, oh, wait, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
Oh, um, I think they're great, right? But they're generic. They work for any data and they're not smart about like this is how I want to see this data because I know what it is and I need to um I think your system looks cool because I can code like a custom viewer. If I could just write a function that generates the UI, um, I should be able to say like make a custom visualization just for like 5 minutes to see one thing and how it works, how
Yeah.
it looks, and debug a thing like okay, I got it now, and then throw it away because I only needed it for a moment.
So I've made this. So I've been working on the search tool and thinking about it for a while now. And I made this specific tool this morning, which is you can see, or maybe you can't see, but basically there's this rgrep function, and you pass it in a directory, and I'm passing in the current directory, a list of irregular expressions to match on the file name,
Yeah.
and then a string to search for, and then I show it, and then you can get the results here. We can just to see what the data actually looks like is you get a list of file objects,
Mm,
and then you get the matches for where it found require.
uh-huh.
And then you can see here, I actually passed in this var, and this var is the view, which is a pure function. And so if I do this, you can see it updates it in real time live programming. So you can use you can use it's really nice to be able to have this generic search thing. Like like an Emacs, there's rgrep, there's a bunch of tools that let you search through all the files in your
Hmm.
project. And it's really, like often it is like really nice to just like, okay, here's this util, this probably looks like what I'm doing. And I click on that, it opens up the code editor, and that's really nice to have. But it's also it can be really nice to actually get the data back. Like you search for it using the GUI tool, and then you
Hmm.
get the data, and then you can use that programmatically to like do something like with CLJ Condo or whatever.
Right.
So having that interplay between the programmatic side and
Right.
the really easy to use graphical user interface.
But you've also mastered the REPL thing, which I remember using Glamorous Toolkit. I had this problem with, which was I modified the class, I changed the methods, and I couldn't see the result. You actually had to like close it and reopen it, and I was telling them, and they're like, "No, you don't want that. Trust me." And I was like, "I want it. I want
Oh,
to be able to type code and see it live update. And, as long as it compiles right, like it should, I should be able to just see the effect. And I got used to that in ClojureScript, right? You just save the file and like a second later you're visualizing the current state of the system, but with this new code.
yeah. Um,
This,
I mean,
this is even faster. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's
I
right in the
mean,
REPL, yeah.
something that I'm
Yeah. No
like
code, no
curious
compilation.
to ask them is that like, so this is all a live environment. And like I'm trying to push as far as I can, doing everything in process. But like if you write like a while true loop with the current version of like the JVM and the compiler and stuff, there's like, it's gone. I think you can
Mm,
like there's like some hacks to like stop threads that Cider uses, and potentially
yeah.
it could do that too. But like if you put a while loop in your I mean, usually views are, it's not that typical. And in fact, like it hasn't been that big a problem, but there are times where you like put in a while true or do
Yeah.
something that like eats all of your memory and you have to
Yeah. Yeah.
restart your system. And there are ways to like, there are other design considerations you can do to work around that. But that is something I've been curious about for how the Glamorous Toolkit guys um, deal with that issue.
Um, Sorry, Ray. I've been kind of dominating the questions. Do you have any questions, Ray?
No, it's fine. I think at the end of the day, I think we should let Adrian get another demo or two that he's got cooked, you know, ready to go, and then we just keep firing questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, do you have any, like, because I don't know, like, so I don't know, maybe one thing I'll point out here is that, um, so this component here is for um, each match, which is like a file and then a list of matches. I guess most of these only have, so we know preview has multiple matches. So,
Mm,
um, well, anyway, um, I mean, we could put up another code editor, find one with more than one match,
there you go. Use some
filter.
code.
So there's file and matches, and we want the number of matches to be greater than one. So it shows the value over here, but if we want to save it, we can actually just pull it up. Oh, I pulled in just one. I can pull in the whole. Yeah, and so that gets, so each, so this gets called for each result, which is just for each file.
Yeah.
And you can actually see, I mean, and yeah, and so we can actually, so here we have the mouse down event, which opens an editor, but you can also like have it, I try not to put side effects in these things, but for a demo, it's not so bad. Because you get a lot of power from having, so the event system in Membrane is you have events, which are like you get keyboard and mouse events, and they return what are called intents. Often they're called effects in other functional languages. But you get a lot of power from making your event system pure function,
Mm,
which like you can sort of do with I mean, this is kind of a lot of how like reframe and replicant
mhm.
and other frameworks work, except for if you have a parent component which has multiple buttons in it, the event, there's like a callback for mouse events for each individual element, and there's no like whereas in Membrane the events are composed where like the mouse event gets called on the parent component, which can or may not delegate to
Mhm.
its children. So, um, but so yeah, we can update this so that when we click on something, it also taps the value here.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess, but yeah, you're editing it live.
Yeah, no, and so
Maybe
about the
maybe
editing
just go
li
through a little bit of.
yeah,
No, go
go
on.
ahead.
I was going to say maybe it would be worth talking a little bit about how the tool is extensible because there's
Yeah.
something, in a bit more detail about how you do that because we've talked in sort of general terms so far, but how do you actually, how would you make a different data viewer, for example? So you've got some some data viewers here that you've cooked already, but how would you make a new one?
Right. So there's a kind of a light way. I mean, I think there's two main ways to do it right now, and I think this is something that could be even easier. But right now, I have a add component as applet, and so I can just give it a function that returns a view. So this will just like error. And let's see what I did wrong here.
A little comment,
Oh,
little
it gets
comment at the end.
An argument.
I think it needs some data. Okay, yeah. So it actually takes in some data. So let's tap the data and see what that is. And evaluate it again. Okay, so you get this map here. And okay, yeah. So you actually get a
It's
map
got a
of
default render of some type.
well, you get a map, and what it a lot of what's built around in Membrane is that the way state works is that like you have to it's a pure function. So like for most components, you have your like essential data, which is like if you have a contact viewer, you have like somebody's name and their address or whatever. But you also have kind of incidental data that's really just related to like, the hover state or the drag state or things that are just related to the UI. And that's got to get passed as an argument. Like if you're going to make it a pure function,
Yep.
you need to
Gotta come
include
from
that.
somewhere. Yeah.
And then you also need a context, which is a different type of state, which is like, it's almost always just focus. And a lot of times you don't want to put a lot of stuff in there because one of the big optimizations that we have is that if you have a pure function and you get the same data, you can just like, you don't have to recompute the layout of everything. You can just return the value you had last time. And so for most productivity apps, most state isn't changing every single frame. So you can like just reuse a lot of like computation by not,
Memoizing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you still want that to be fast because that still happens. So you get the data in, and then the other thing that you get that I haven't done a good necessarily explained previously before, so we'll see how it goes, is you get what I call references. And that's for when you, okay, I'm not really using it here, but usually like if you have a contact editor and you want to change the name, instead of like when you have when you want to return an intent to say like they click this button and it says add to do, you want to give it a reference to the to-do list. And so the functional way of saying I want to change the to-do list is I say like update this reference, apply this function, and update it using that function that I gave you. And so that's how you do it in a functional way. A lot of frameworks are going to like, you have this association stuff. And so Membrane gives you a lot of support for that. So you can get these reusable components. And this is also really powerful in the sense of like if you want to show a really complicated component, you can delegate, mouse events to child components, but you can also say like, every time somebody adds a do whatever the component said, like the child component, we're going to delegate. And then we're also going to do this thing where we like save it to the database. And you can do that in a very functional way. Or you can say like, I have I don't know if you had a thing where like Storybook, where you just like want to show all your components, but you don't want it to like fire off a bunch of events. You don't want it to connect it to everything. So instead you just, instead of delegating to child components, you can just like wrap it and say, whenever there's a mouse event, don't do anything. That could probably use more explanation, but anyway, that's what the references are for. So
Yeah. Okay. So I have a related question. If you, so you've got this closure process running that's doing your GUI. which is your
Mhm.
editor, and you're want to edit another program and run stuff in its REPL, do you run a separate JVM?
So what I've been doing is I just add that project to easel,
I
and
see.
then there's no other project.
I
I
see.
do think, you know, I do eventually want to have support for other REPLs. I think
Mm,
you really need it for like, remote debugging for Babashka,
hmm.
for yeah. I think there's definitely like really good use cases for that.
Yeah.
But I haven't implemented that yet. In part
Mm,
because I usually don't need it, and if I do need it, it's usually a small part, and then I just use Emacs.
right. I see. Okay, well, other related question. Um, if you, all right, so one of the things that I'm going back to small talk here, because this is really reminding me of that. Um, One of the things that made the small talk project successful was that they could do this live editing of the whole environment. They never had to recompile and restart the machine and all the thing that would slow you down, right? And so Alan Kay says like they would go to lunch, come up with all these ideas, write them down, and then test them all by the end of the day. They'd be like, what if we had buttons to do this? And what if we moved this around? And what if we showed it this? And they could just do it live. Like, what if we implemented the scroll bars in this way? And they just change the code and scroll bars work in a different way. And he said that like we could not have built all of this without that. Like basically invented all of these things if we couldn't just try lots of things quickly. Do you
Mhm.
find that is happening with you? That you're able to like try out a bunch of different things because it's a live system and you can get down to the individual like GUI components and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I find that all the time. That when I'm building a tool, like you usually, as soon as you use it, you get really good feedback as to like how it should work.
Hmm.
And so being able to do a really simple version first and then kind of grow it. So, this search tool is still a work in progress. I'm going to close some stuff. So the search tool is still a work in progress. There's like a lot to be desired here, but being able to, just use it has already informed like how I should, like what I wanted to do and how it should work. Um,
Hmm.
the Hopefully the UI looks better than in previous iterations. This is from the benefit of Nikki Tonsky, who like took 20 minutes with a screenshot and then just like within 20 minutes was able to give me a lot of give me a new screenshot of like here's some things that'll make it look a lot better. And
Mm.
that's so anything that looks better now is all credit to him. And the way I worked on that was that I basically just hacked the main easel view, put his image on top, and then I hacked a slider bar on top of everything so I could change the opacity. And
Mm.
then
Ah,
I can like start editing things, and then I can like squiggle the slider to see like how, like is my padding right? Is it
right.
does it
Like do a visual diff on it. That's really cool.
Mm.
Yeah, it was really subtle. The text here is I just get some really bad with fonts, but the letter spacing is adjusted. It was the same font that I was using, but with just different letter spacing.
Uh-huh.
So I tried out a bunch of different fonts, and then I realized it was the same font, and that the letter spacing and then like getting the letter spacing right would typically be really annoying to like have a really slow feedback loop. But if you can just put it on top of each other and just like
Hmm.
adjust the letter spacing, then
Wow.
So
you're ready
you're
to
not
go.
using his Fury code then?
No, I don't. I'm
He
just
didn't
not
persuade you to
into
do that.
to ligatures. Like there's the
All right. Yeah.
so I did check that it works in Clobber. But if you do like the threading macros, it has like
Yeah, yeah,
special
yeah.
ligatures. I don't know. Just
But I think you can turn them on or off depending on your editor. You don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to review. You don't have to. Uh, I think well, with certain editors, I know with IntelliJ you can tick ligatures on, ligatures off. So you
Yeah.
can just see the raw code. But anyway,
yeah,
that's a different story. Quick
yeah.
question for you: this purple and pink thing. I've seen it on many of your frames, but what's the sort of what's this? It seems like a
This one.
novel bit of chrome. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Is it a
this could be
gradient? Is it?
improved as well. But basically, so this is the default data viewer for everything is called Viscous, and it's meant to work
Okay.
with really large data structures. So the key idea is that you can visualize data in constant space, time, and screen space.
Mm,
So
okay.
this solves the problem of like you preprint something large and then it like blows up your inspector. And it was really important.
Yeah.
Like the data inspector is most important when you're working with like large data. So I think it was really important to me to have a really large, to be able to support really large values. And as you can see, is if you give it more space, it will use more
It
space.
expands. Yeah.
And I think so this is an old version. And this is one of the things that now that I use it all the time every day that I wanted to go back and improve. So right now it goes one pass through the
Mm.
data. I think with two passes, you can more efficiently use all the space available
Hmm.
and still have it be really fast. Like you can, I mean, you can work with like I've had data structures that are like 30 gigabytes. And
Huh.
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I mean, well, the reality is you're only like, especially like you're only showing so much stuff. So it's like you should be able to like,
Right. So it's
I
like a
mean,
spreadsheet perspective of things that you only want to render the things that are actually kind of like visible to the user.
yeah, you just kind of walk the tree and you just keep walking until you've like run out of pixels and
Mm.
then you're done. And usually like, yeah, you usually run out of pixels pretty quickly.
So the pink is like drag it to change the size, and what's the purple?
Yeah, so if I click on this, I zoom in on a part of the data structure, and then if I hit the blue button, it zooms back out.
Uh,
Yeah, so I think there's definitely some improvements here as to like making this a little bit easier. I'd really have like a double click thing that will like just make it bigger instead of having to like have to choose,
yeah.
as
Mm.
well as like
Mm.
keyboard navigation. But um, yeah, yeah, I
Yes,
think I
great.
can.
Yeah.
So here I can tap the full app state of, so this is the app state for the whole UI. And if I go to the search here, I can do the same tree sec thing. So secable sec, and then this is the app state for the whole easel application. And I can clear results. And then I can just start searching. And you can see that there's just like a ton of stuff in the state if you walk all of it. Most of
Right.
this
Yeah.
is actually Clobber.
Oh, it's still finding more. Okay. It's in the background. It's
Wow.
finding
That's
more.
a
Yeah,
lot of
so
subcomponents.
what's
Yeah.
mostly, well, you can see that
Oh,
secable
every
will
letter.
go through strings. And then for all the Clobber views, these are immutable ropes. And so for the undo, it's actually just keeping track of, like it actually has, every time you do a keystroke, it has like the old versions. And when you do undo, you
Yeah.
just set to the old thing. So it's actually like not that much. And in fact, like I was really surprised that you can do this and it doesn't like blow up your memory because, it's all shared structure. So you've
Right.
got this one list of a million things, but
Right. Right.
um, it's all pointing to like stuff in place in memory. So it's not like,
Yep.
yeah, the immutable persistent sharing, like all of this comes back into play again.
Immutability for the win. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And then you can just
Yeah.
view
Yeah.
the whole,
Nice.
so this is all the results here and you can view that all in one viscous thing. And so the fact that it has a million elements, it's like
Mm.
not a big deal.
Cool. I'm
Impressive.
just
Yeah.
blown away. I don't know what
So
else to
maybe we're
say.
kind of running out of time a bit now. We're kind of running out of time a little bit now, Adrian. So what sort of are there any other little bits and pieces you want to kind of show off here? Uh, I feel like this is the kind of thing where I mean I know you're still working on it and like still working out what it means to deliver it to to other people in the culture community. So I think it's already pretty awesome as far as I can tell. But maybe it's what kind of things are you looking for people to contribute or to give you feedback on?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like, yeah, I just don't know like how much of any of that. Like, I think unfortunately I don't have the UI UX sense as much. I'm like much better at like making things work, and then like there's somebody who's good at that that gives me that. So I think some of these, like some of what is happening, is just confusing because the UX experience. So if anybody has like UX experience that like uh, what's an interesting project, could always use some help there. And just like hearing what people think they're
Yeah.
like, kind of getting like, I guess having questions about like, what is this? How does it work? And I'm happy to explain things. So getting a better sense of like
Yeah.
what is actually coming across or what is really confusing would be helpful.
Did you speak to the next journal people yet?
Yeah, I got to talk to them at Dutch Closure Days, and that was really. Uh, they actually gave me some really great movie
Yeah.
recommendations, so they were really.
Movies? Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about other stuff too, but uh,
Yeah.
they were really fun.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask that about how you see notebooks, um, and how do they relate to this? Because you've got this kind of, yeah, I'm gonna maybe um, mischaracterize it, but they seem like okay, just open this temporary panel, see what the data is, throw it away, no problem. Whereas the notebook seems much more like a log of everything you've done, and with the intent that perhaps someone else would come and read your log and you could edit it so that it's more readable. Um, how do you see that?
I definitely want so like Glamorous Toolkit has a notebook thing called Leopard,
Oh,
and I think notebooks are really important, and that's something I definitely want to support. One of the my gripes with like a lot of the notebooks now is that like um, usually they're split in two, where you have like your JVM code and you have your this where the
the
notebook is
view.
running in the browser,
Mm-hmm.
and so being able to share like
Mm.
large data sets, and then the other part is the feedback cycle, and they have certain things that let you do that, but I think similar to the search results where you can have something and then you click on it and that feeds back in and you can get the data. And so being able
Yeah.
to have something where like you build a notebook that's a dynamic notebook that lets you interact with the elements on the notebook itself and shares data back and forth is I think really important for what I want out of a notebook.
Right. It's not just a flat HTML
Mm.
page that
Mm.
gets rendered from your
Right.
your thing. Yeah.
And but yeah, I think the notebook stuff is like I think I definitely want a notebook type thing where you can like basically have a document that's mixed media of like you have a code editor, you have a um, data viewer, you have a chart, you have a uh,
Uh-huh.
NES
Uh-huh.
emulator.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I mean, I think the NES emulator is brilliant that you could just do that right in there. Like,
mm.
I'm gonna say this, I don't know if I'll put my foot in my mouth, but the I've talked about this before about how we've got these like basically supercomputers and we're not using enough of it, you know? Like I know David Nolan has shown stuff like, hey, this problem, solving this problem using a logic engine in the 90s took 17 seconds. And now we can do it live between frame refreshes. You can actually solve this Sudoku like, before the frame is rendered again. Uh, and but in this like declarative way, like you don't have to write this super optimized algorithm. You can write this algorithm that is like much more expressive about that kind of problem. Um, Similarly, you didn't write some crazy optimized Mario like hacked system. You just were using the save games, right? You were just like, I'm gonna snapshot the memory of this NES, and then I'm going to run every option at the next frame and save those, and then run them. Like you're you're using a lot of
Yeah.
memory, I
And you could
imagine.
see the
Like
the number of frames. It does like it searched 21 million frames, and it's just
and
like,
and you
yeah,
saved everything, right? And
yeah.
and this is what I'm talking about. Like when I say people need to do stuff that's more inefficient, like people think, oh, Photoshop already takes like 4 minutes to open. Like that's not what I mean. I
Mhm.
mean, you could be doing stuff like this. Like you could have Mario. I mean, I know it's not optimized to be able to like run it in real time, but you could definitely do multiple frames of Mario per frame.
Oh yeah.
And um anyway, we're not wasting enough resources. Is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Well, like, yeah, I mean, I was like, I was working on this stuff and I just assumed that I would have to spend way more time like doing performance optimization to
Yeah.
get something like this to work. I think the web is just very, very challenging from a performance perspective.
The
And so if
browser.
your experience is building UIs for the web,
Mm,
then it really, if you do everything on the desktop, then like one, you're not having to do latency, you don't do everything in JavaScript. And it's just like, I was very blown away by like how little effort I had to like put into like, oh, okay, I put in the emulator, it goes at 60 frames a second. Everything's designed around like mostly static like productivity stuff, but like, hey, it still works. You can still like play the game.
yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal. Yeah.
Awesome, man. This was amazing. I'm blown away. Uh I now regret not like making like faces all the whole time. I was just soaking it in. It's really cool. I just want you to know how impressed I am with this.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great work. Absolutely fantastic, Adrian. You've made incredible progress in the time that you've been at it.
Yeah,
And
a year and a half. This is amazing.
yeah, we're going to have you back, when
Sure.
when you've had another year and a half. And I think it will be, already amazing. It will be even more so. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you.
cool. All right, so see you everybody. Don't forget to subscribe. Join us in Discord, and see you soon.